Yeah, you'll be on the stage all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
And I will disappear.
But you introduce me first.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, everybody. Good morning to all of you. Good afternoon. Delighted that you could join us today for this important session, because Egypt has a very active and dynamic PPP program, and it has really attracted a lot of interest from investors in the past few years. Most of that, in large part, due to the leader of that effort in Egypt, Mr. Ater Hamoura. Ater has been a true dynamic leader in attracting investment into Egypt. He has been working before he worked for the World Bank and had several other professional positions. And then he joined the PPP unit under its previous guise. And after that, he became the head of that PPP unit. He has been involved in a lot of PPP projects in different sectors. So an experience of both what to do and what not to do, really, in PPP. I consider him one of the most experienced and the most innovative PPP professionals that we have. So without further ado, Ater, the floor is yours. And please, everybody, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. The Q&A box is the one, just the icon just right of the chat box. And we'll be taking your questions after Ater's comments. Ater, floor is yours.
Thank you, Ziad. Thank you for the WAPPP for accepting us for this session. I've got a presentation that I want to share with you. I'll just give a brief and a quick introduction about the PPP Central Unit in Egypt and the institutional framework in Egypt. And then I'll go through the law and the amendments of the law that have been approved a few months ago. And then I'll go for the pipeline. Actually, the PPP Central Unit have been established in 2006, late 2006, and we went through a lot of experiences. And the PPP unit in Egypt have been, in the last 10 years, we've experienced a lot of problems, starting from revolutions in 2011, another revolution 2013, political instability, economical instability, devaluation of the currency, FX risks, and all this kind of risks. But thank God we succeeded to overcome all these problems. And actually, we gained a lot of problems because some get a lot of experience. Actually, some of these problems we treated it wrongly. So that's what not to do, as Ziad just mentioned, and a lot of issues that we've been successfully addressed, and we passed. We've bridged all this problem. The institutional structure in Egypt, we've got something called the PPP Supreme Committee, which is headed by the Prime Minister, and permanent membership of 9 ministers plus, who is in my position. The 9 ministers are the Ministry of Finance, Minister of Planning, Minister of International Cooperation and Investment, Minister of Housing, Minister of Transportation, because housing and transportation, basically 60 or 70% of the project comes from this line ministers, Minister of Justice and Law, Ministers of Industry and Trade. The Supreme Committee actually is working as the PPP regulator. So they approve all projects, and their orders, let me say, their approvals and their regulations are implemented by the PP Central Unit, which is located in the Ministry of Finance. We also created the so-called satellite units, which are in the line ministry. This is very important part because actually the line ministries are the entities that will manage the contract after that. We work with them starting the preparation of the project, the studies, structuring of the project, presenting to the Supreme Committee, gets the approval. All the procurement procedures were on top of it with the line ministry, and then the line ministry through the satellite unit manages the contract after that, under our support if they require this. Quickly, the Supreme Committee, as I mentioned, working as the regulatory body, they are setting of an integrated national policy of the PPs, identifying the framework, objective mechanisms, targeting scopes, endorsing the application of the PP structure on projects, monitoring the allocation of financial funds to ensure the fulfillment of the financial obligations of any PP contracts, issuing the rules, the general criteria of PPs. So by the end of the day, they are the regulatory body. The central unit, I'll not talk a lot about it because most of you know what the central unit's role is, and the WAPP is actually the hosting of all central units. This is the final organization chart, organization structure of the PP central unit, and I want to tell you that this is still dynamic. It's not a final thing. We're working on that structure. We've set this new structure a year ago. We're filling it out, and as we go, and as the things are changing, and the satellite units are reaching maturity, the scope of the PP unit will be a little bit limited depending on the satellite units when they reach their maturity. That's the main role of the satellite of the central unit, and that's the roles of the satellite units, which are the executive entity of the administrative authority of the PP project through the technical, financial, and legal elements. They are the technical guys. We depend on them big time during our preparation and feasibility studies of the project, and we involve them very heavily in the structure of the project. They are the owners of the project, the line ministries, and they have to assume the responsibility on this. The law. Not all countries have a dedicated PPP law. In Egypt, we have a procurement law, but the procurement law is not geared for long-term projects. It's not geared for compounded projects as the PPs. So it was essential to have our PP law. We started working on the law in 2007, and while we're working on in the PP law, we amended the procurement law so we can tender one or two projects under the procurement law and its amendments, so we can experience what kind of difficulties, what kind of issues that might raise from implementing one or two projects, so we can capture all the lessons learned in our new law. And this actually happened. Our first project was schools, and I'm not ashamed to say that the first project did not succeed. But I want to tell you that we gained a lot of experience out of this project that failed. And the next project was a wastewater treatment plant. And I want to tell you that Egypt received 4 international awards on this project. It was the first successful, but it came after a first failure. The first failure is where the lessons learned. The PP law, after all, we captured all the lessons learned. We issued the PP law. It was issued in 2010, and the executive regulations issued in January 2011. And we started working through under the PP law. It came in 4 chapters. The first chapter, I've got general provisions, definitions, PP contract, regulatory advisory, contracts, introduction and definitions, entities related to the law, the role of the regulatory bodies, which is very important. We have to involve them in the preparation phase, changes of the PP contracts and compensation mechanisms, adjustments of re-equilibrium of the contracts. All this are illustrated in this chapter. The most important thing is the project assets and the ownership of this project assets and the reporting system. The second law in the institutional framework, which I just mentioned. The third chapter is the procurement and tendering procedures, starting from the expression of interest, pre-qualification, initial RFP, public sector competitor, competitive dialogue, 2-stage tendering, the procedures, the final request for proposal, evaluation committees, and the letter of awards. In our procurement system in Egypt, we don't issue an RFP only. Actually, the RFP come with no technical or financial conditions. However, an annex of this RFP comes with the full-fledged bilingual draft contract with its 18 or 19 annexes. So the bidders have to know what they're signing on, and we give them the right through the procurement procedures to come out with clarification and to come out with amendment of the contract of the draft contract if you don't like it. So if they don't like any of the articles or any of the risks or structure of the project, they can come during the clarification session. This article, we don't like it. We propose another drafting, and they have to tell us why they are doing this, so we can come out and understand from where they are coming. I want to tell you that at least 55 to 60% of the requests of the bidders are taken in consideration, and the contracts and the draft contracts and the tender documents have been amended accordingly. So by this procedure, we do all the contract negotiation transparently with each and every bidder. Plus, all bidders have got some kind of ownership on the documents because they participated in drafting it. Plus, the most important thing is that we make sure that all the bidders have went through the contract or the draft contract from the first page to the end of the last page to get their technical aspects, their financial, their obligations, their risks, their financial issues entirely. The fourth chapter, which defines the main contract terms, dispute resolutions, the law of implementation, the SPV solvency, contract assignment, relationship between the lenders, and the so-called direct agreement. The direct agreement is a document that's signed by the service provider, the government, the lending banks, and the Ministry of Finance, the Treasury, to provide sovereign guarantee on some of the projects. And the investment complaints committee that can solve their problems. This is the law in a nutshell. November 2021, we passed through the parliament the amendments of the law. The main amendments of the law is number one, introducing new contracting methodologies. The main law was only putting one methodology of contracting, which is the international competitive bidding. Now we introduced direct order with a lot of restrictions, not to have the direct order as an alternative of competitive bidding, unsolicited proposals, and limited tender. The unsolicited proposal, actually, we didn't follow the Swiss challenge as most of the people or most of the countries did. We proposed something special, which is the unsolicited proposal, which is called the Egyptian challenge, which is a modification and development of the Swiss challenge to make it much more competitive. The creation of a committee between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Planning and the PP Central Unit to create the pipeline so we can check all the infrastructure projects, all the utilities, public utility projects and public service projects, and select from this list the project that could be tendered under the PPP, so we can create the pipeline and get the approval of the pipeline from the Supreme Committee, as I mentioned, and then we start working on them and prepare them for bidding and get the approval one by one from the Supreme Committee. The last thing which I want to introduce here, because we faced it repetitively in some other projects, which is the proposal committee or the evaluation committee, let me say, proposal evaluation committee has the right to clarify, validate, or reject the successful bid. Why? Sometimes we found that we have 5 bidders and we have the public sector comparator as well. The 5 bidders, 4 of which have got, hypothetically, one is bidding on $1 million, the other is $150,000, the third is $1,100,000, and we found the successful financial bidder is $600,000. So he's 40% or 30% less or better than the other bids. So he's working alone, I mean, in a different region. This is very risky. We, in other projects, previous projects, we have to award him the project because it's the best financial and technical bid, and this big gap actually make him the preferred bidder. But we found after that the project failed because his financial structure was wrong and it was not well prepared. He didn't put in consideration a lot of issues, so he didn't continue the project and he abandoned the projects at a very early stage. This is a very high risk on the government, and it put this project as black marked. So after studying this, we said that if we find a project, proposal that is far from other proposals and far from the public sector comparator, and he's the best proposal, we have to get him, sit with him, and go through his financial model to make sure that this financial model generated his price, okay? And to ask him and to validate from where did he get this special price. If he gives a real robust justification that the committee can approve, then it's approved and we can give him the award and we're much more comfortable. If not, then the committee has the right to reject and to escalate their rejections and the reasons of rejection and the basis of rejection to the Supreme Committee to approval, and then we can continue with the following best bids. This is the main amendments of the PPP law. Now, I want to take you through quickly through the projects pipeline. We have got projects which is currently, as we are talking, under tendering and is in different phases of procurement. We have the 10th of Ramadan dry port and logistics center. This is the second dry port in Egypt. The first one was in a place called 6th of October City, and actually it's awarded, and on the 3rd of July it will be opened and providing the services 2 weeks from today. The 10th of Ramadan dry port is bigger. It's almost double the size of the first one, plus it have a logistics center, and we have already finished the pre-qualification. We have 4 international consortium from Medlock, CMA, Siva Logistics with the Egyptian company called Swedi, Orascom Construction, Egyptian company with Abu Dhabi Ports. That's the third successful qualified consortium. We have also Bolloré Transport with and Logistics with funding a fund called Meridian. The documents, the final documents, tender documents will be given to them on end of this month, 27th of this month. And we expect to have the awarding by end of this year. The Ministry of Transportation is working now to connect the railway network to the new dry port in the 10th of Ramadan, which will be up and running 6 months before the opening of this port. The second one that we're currently working on is the second phase of the PP new schools. The first one already finished a year ago, and actually the schools are in operation now. Then the current project is 57 new schools distributed on 16 governorates. The term of the contract is 30 years. The estimated investment cost is almost 1.2 billion Egyptian pounds, which is equivalent to 65 or 70 million dollars. We finished the pre-qualification, and actually after finishing the pre-qualification, we received a lot of requests from other bidders. So we took the approval to reopen the pre-qualification, and actually on the 25th of this month, we received the second wave of pre-qualified bidders. This project is structured as we give them the land, they build, equip, provide the service, and they get the tuition fees directly from the beneficiaries, but the tuition fees is restricted. It's based on their financial bid. And then there is a mechanism in the contract how to increase the tuition fees as per the inflation and this. The third project that we're currently on and expected to be to reach commercial closure within the next 4 to 6 weeks, it's waste to energy plants. This is a pilot project, by the way. However, they are 8, but they are pilot project because actually the need exceeds 50 projects of this in Egypt. Egypt is a big country. So the first 8 are in 8 different governorates. The term of the contract is 25 years. This would reach financial commercial closure, as I mentioned, within the next few weeks. The fourth one or the fifth one is 4 strategic warehouses for strategic commodities. This will be working with the Ministry of Supply and Internal Trade, and these strategic warehouses are huge ones, state-of-the-art warehouses, and it's on each warehouse is on 10 fadans. 10 fadans is almost each fadan is for 4,200 square meter. So this is almost 42,000 square meter size. The capacity of each warehouse is 75,000 pallets, and there is cold chain and standard storage areas. The cost of each of them is almost $80 million, and the initial the 50 to $60 million each, and the expected investment of the 4 is around $200 or $210 million. Expected to sign the contracts late June, early July. This is a container terminal in New Damietta Seaport. Actually, the contract was signed 2 weeks ago, and we're working on the financial closure. It's a seaport or a quay terminal, container terminal on the seaport, and the term of the contract is 30 years. The estimated investment cost is $200 million, and I believe that within the next 5 months they will reach financial closure and start working on the project. The estimated construction period is 18 to 20 months. And the awarded companies or consortium is Eurogate, Germany, Countship, Italy, and Hapag Lloyd International Shipping Lines. We have projects that's under preparation to be tendered within this year. The first is the new Damietta wastewater treatment plant. It will be the first green PP infrastructure project to be tendered, expected to be tendered in September 2022. We're finalizing the feasibility studies, and with the support of the EU or the European Union, they are supporting us in financing part of the feasibility studies and the project documents. Expected investments is $110 million, and we expect to be tendered the first phase, which is the pre-qualification session, on September 22, and we will give them, the qualified bidders will take or will purchase the tender document by before December 2022. We expect to reach commercial closure by August 2023. The second in the pipeline under preparation is Sadat Dry Port. It will be the third dry port in Egypt, in a place called Sadat City, which is almost 130 kilometers south Alexandria, and it will be dedicated for dry bulk. It will not be working on containers, because we give an exclusivity and as we call it, fence for the 6th of October city, the dry port. The 6th of October dry port, we give them the right to be the only dry port in this area, okay, for the next 5 years of operation. So we will not award any or construct any other dry port in this region, with the region of 100 kilometers cycle or circle. So they've got some kind of exclusivity for 5 years, or if they reach 80% of the capacity of the project, then it's open for competition. We can get another dry ports, container dry ports in the region. The Sadat dry port is almost 70 kilometers far from the first dry port, 6th of October, but as I mentioned, it will be only for dry bulks, and there will be 40 silos to be, or 30 silos to be constructed in this project. It will be basically for grains. We expect to have to finish the preparation and feasibility studies and put it to the market end of this year, like November, December of this year. New Damietta dry port. This is a very small dry port. It's a 15 fadans or 14.5 fadans or acres, let me say. It's very small, limited. It's done to serve Damietta and Port Said dry ports, very local, and this will be most probably awarded under the direct award mechanism of under our law. Here comes the big part, the desalination plants. I want to mention that Egypt have a plan, already put a plan of desalination from the year 2020 to the year 2050, 30 years plan. The current capacity of desalination is 1.3 or 1.2, including the plants that under construction. The plan of 2050 is to reach almost 8 million cubic meter per day. It's a very wide and big and ambitious plan. We already start working on these 4 projects. El Hammam, it's 120 to 190,000 cubic meter per day. Marsa Alam start with 20, exceeds, go to the second phase will be 60. Qusayr desalination plant 2060, and Safaga desalination plant 2080. And there is another batch coming in, another 3 or 4 with different capacities. By the way, the plan of the desalination have very small plants, which is 2,000, 5,000, and 10,000 projects, cubic meter per day projects. And we have 800,000 cubic meter per day, 500,000 cubic meter per day, and 300,000 cubic per day projects, and the normal standard, which varies from 50 to 150 projects. That's the majority. So there is a big room for different capacities, different sizes of bidders or service provider to have and select the appropriate capacity and start bidding in. This desalination plan, we believe that it will follow the new amendments of the law, which we will have a big pre-qualification session with different capacities. And then these pre-qualified bidders will be the short list to be invited for the limited tenders of desalination, just to save the time of going through pre-qualification for each and every project of desalination. And this pre-qualified bidders, or this short list of pre-qualified bidders, which will be classified under 3 categories, up to 50,000 cubic meter per day plants, from 50 to 150, from over 250 or to over 200,000 cubic meter per day. So this will be called for the limited tenders of the desalination plants. We are waiting for the final allocation of the lands. Once we have the final allocation of the lands, we start tendering this immediately. The pipeline. I'll start with the Ministry of Transportation. Beni Suef dry port project. It will cost almost 250, expected to be tendered Q4 2022, but actually, let me give you the right date. It will not be tendered before February or March 2023. So it will be shifted 1 quarter. Logistics Center of the 6th of October dry port. This will be also tendered end of this year or early next year. It's 300 acres or 300 fadans. It's a logistics center that will be adjacent to the borders of the first dry port of 6th of October city, which both of them will be serving one of the biggest industrial plants in Egypt. We are in the phase of preparation of the feasibility studies and expect to have it, to push it to the market end of this year or early next year. Burj Al Arab dry port. Burj Al Arab is in the west coast of Alexandria. Alexandria is here. This is the new dry port, because we've got Alexandria port here, we've got the Khela port adjacent to it, we've got Marsa Matruh port to be coming, and we have another logistics centers at the borders with Libya. So I think this will be serving a lot of areas as we develop. We have this expected to be tendered in the second quarter of 2023. Multi-purpose terminal in the Khela port. As I mentioned, the Khela port is the second port in Alexandria. We've got Alexandria port, which is the biggest and the main port in Egypt, and near it, few kilometers far, in the Khela port. So together they are called the grand or the big Alexandria port. The Khela port, this is a queue wall, a terminal for multi-purpose terminal inside the Khela port. We expect to tender this not before the Q3 of 2023. Another dry bulk in the Khaira port as well. That's the dirty bulk, sorry, dry bulk. And we've got another one, which is a dirty bulk. The same goes in the same area in the Khaila port. So the Khaila ports will be having a dry bulk terminal, a multi-purpose terminal, and a dirty bulk terminal. Some of the projects we know by now because we've went through the studies. We know that it will cost almost $65 million. The previous ones, the dry bulk is to be determined because we are working under the studies. We cannot announce the estimated investment cost till we finish the financial studies. We have a Safaga new multi-purpose terminal. This is a huge project, and it will cost almost $750 million. It's a full-fledged port. It's not a queue wall or a terminal in a port. It's a few new wall, still working under the feasibility studies, and it's not expected to be tendered before Q3 or Q4 2023. We have in the higher education, in the hospitals, we have working on a higher education PP project. Okay, this is a hospital. It's a university hospital, educational university hospital of Banha University. Banha University is one of the big universities in Egypt, and actually this will be constructed in their new campus. They are working on a new campus in a place called El Abur City. That's the extension of Banha University, and we are working on it now. Expected to be tendered mid of 2023. Estimated cost is around $70 million. It varies from 200 to 150 beds. In this project, the service provider will be doing everything, providing all services except the clinical services. Clinical services will be done by the university doctors and the university nurses, because by the end of the day, it's an educational university, and it will be paid under the PFI system or the availability payment system. Thank you very much. That's the presentation that I have for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ater. Unfortunately, we're left only with about 5 minutes for Q&A, which is very little time. So let me do this. We'll take the questions we can take, but let me tell you and everybody that when you exit, when this session ends, you will find yourself in the area, the general area of the AirMeet platform. You will have four menus on top of your screen. One will say reception, one will say meet and greet, one will say reception, one will say schedule, one will say meet and greet, and one will say booths. If you go to the meet and greet, and Ater, if you have some time, if you can go there as well, there's a table called the WAPPP table. You will see it's a table. You can sit around it and talk and carry the conversation that we're having. It's a little bit like leaving the main stage and going outside to the lobby and continuing to talk. So you can answer maybe some of the questions there because we will unfortunately have to end just on time. So yes, would you have some time? Would you have like 5-10 minutes after this?
Yes, definitely. I received 2 questions. One is from Mrs. Musa or Charlie Musa. It's they are asking to share the presentation.
I think you're looking at the chat.
Yes.
Okay, but we'll go to the Q&A. There's many questions actually. But go ahead. Are you sharing the presentation?
Please. The WAPPP have the right to share it with any member. Please.
Very good. Other question we have is, Is the amended PPP law available in English?
We will make it available in English very soon. Actually, our website is hacked, and we're doing another website now. Within the next few weeks, we'll have the new website, and we will put the amendments, the original law and the amendments and the executive regulation, once approved, in English. We're working on the translation now.
Okay. Question, what are the differences between Swiss challenge and Egyptian challenge?
Yes, that's the most popular question these days. However, I know that the WAPP is based in Geneva, in Switzerland, but I want to say that the Swiss challenge, for me, is a fake procedures, because in the Swiss challenge, the initial proponent of the bid has the right to match with any other bid that is proposed. You know, in the Swiss challenge, for people that doesn't know the Swiss challenge, the initial proponent of the proposal sit with the government, and if the government accepts the bid, they negotiate it technically and financially. They come out of the final structure, technical and financial structure, and they bid the final form of the project, the final structure of the project. They bid it internationally, so another bids can come and submit their bids, but the initial proponent have the right, the absolute right, to match. So the best bidder, when he comes with his bid, they can easily, they are the main proponent sitting on his rocking chair waiting for the best bid and said, guys, don't award him, I'll match. This, for me, being an old bidder before, this is a fake, because no bidder will come and exert money, efforts, and resources for a long time, okay, to submit a bid that he knows that his opportunity to win is almost zero. There's the
Right.
Swiss,
So what is the Egyptian version?
the Egyptian challenge. We said that we'll go through the same procedure in the beginning, but once we come with the final structure and push it to the market, new bidders will submit their bids, plus the main proponent will also submit his best and final. They will submit bids. The initial proponent, which will be clear in the documents, the initial proponent has the right to match if the difference in price between his price and the best bid is less than 5% or 7%, as illustrated in the document. So we have a limited right to match, not an absolute. This will come out with, number one, the bidders have a real opportunity to bid and to win the bid. So they will bid, actually. They will sharpen their pen to make this a gap as much as possible to get the best prices. The initial proponent know that he's under a real competition. So he will sharpen his pen again and give the government the right price. The Swiss challenge, you get his price, which is actually exaggerated, which is actually higher in price, and then you sit with him and negotiate. Negotiate. Instead of 3 million, you go for 2.9 million, 3 million, but still the price is not
understood.
Last thing is, if the bid was awarded to another bidder, not the main proponent, another bidder will pay a fixed amount of money in the tender document as success fees to the main proponent as a reward for his money compensated. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Sounds very good. Mr. Abdulsalam Abdul has questions regarding prioritizing the PPP pipeline, and also he's interested in hearing about the reasons why the first project failed, but we don't have time for that. I urge you, please, Mr. Abdul and Mr. Hanoura, if you can move to the meet and greet area, to the WAPP table, you can sit there and you can talk. You can even do a video call like we are doing now.
Okay, so, because this will take some good time.
That's why I left it till the end. It takes a long time. So thank you very much, everybody. The session for Italy is starting. So I invite you to either join the table of WAPP with Mr. Hanoura or join the session for Italy. We'll see you later.
Thank you.